or similar, and might have hopes of being restored to health, if appropriately treated. Matron was keen to retain patients like Martha, who, after the first few weeks, needed little care. Because they could do many things for themselves, they enabled her to keep her staffing costs low. Uncouth, coarse Martha Connelly, bed 3, room 5, daughter of the Liverpool dockside, knew that she was not totally disabled, but she had had to agree with Matron's sharp assessment that if she tried to walk, she was liable to falls. She must therefore remain in bed unless an attendant was in the room to escort her. Without any visitors who might have spoken up on her behalf, unable to read or write, she knew herself to be stranded, just a numbered bed, her humanity forgotten. Since all the aides were grossly overworked, she did not get much exercise. Her chart said that she was 60, which was no great age. But her thin, wispy hair was white, her back was humped, and at times her mended hip hurt sharply. On the rare occasions when she was allowed out of bed, she had until recently used a stick. Her empty days dragged on from meal to meal, with nothing to alleviate their dreadful monotony. "Sometimes I want to scream and scream," she once told Angie. Angie smiled. "Well, don't," she advised. "Matron might hear you, and she'd make you take a pill to quiet you." Fear crept up Martha's back like pins and needles. The warning was justified. She had seen other patients drugged into silence. One day, boiling with rage at Matron's studied disregard of anything patients said to her, she had furiously brandished her walking stick at her. Matron hastily snatched it from her and took it away to be safely stowed in her office. Since then, Martha had not had any exercise. Better for her to be here, Martha had decided gloomily, rather than being left as she had been found, hungry and with a broken hip, lying in the unheated hallway of an old house by the Herculaneum dock. She had been lucky that the rent collector had found her. When there was no answer to his pounding on the door, he had decided that she might be in, but hiding from him, in the hope that he would go away. She was already behind with her rent. He had knelt down to lift the flap of her letterbox and peer through it. When he saw her curled up at the bottom of the narrow staircase, he had immediately run to find the policeman on the beat. With his own key to the house, the rent collector opened the door for the constable, an ambulance was called from the corner telephone box, and an exhausted, moaning Martha was taken to hospital. After a spell in hospital, she had been discharged to this old folks' nursing home. She had told Angie, because she had no one to care for her. As Martha scolded Angie for her ignorance of the infamous Liverpool court system, she became quite animated and heaved herself painfully into a sitting position to better lecture her. "You see, Angie, I were born in a court, and so was me hubby. We lived in one till the war, so I know how dreadful they were." She paused for a moment, and then said thoughtfully, "It's funny, though. I never thought of them as dreadful in them days. They were just normal life. People what had never seen one usually denied they existed, 'cause they didn't want to know. We was a family of 11 living in one room. There's people even now as don't believe anybody's starving or living with at least half a dozen people in one room, 'cause nice people don't want to know." From her own experience, Angie knew about people who ignored the misery of others, and she nodded agreement while Martha paused to instruct her fretfully. "Don't tuck me feet in so tight. I get cramp, you know that." "OK," Angie replied easily in her strong Jamaican accent. Martha repeated vehemently, "People don't want to know anything as makes them feel uncomfortable, 'cause then they might have to do something about it." She went on to explain how men like her husband, employed on the docks, had to live within walking distance of them, 'cause they were casual labour and had to sign on for work twice a day, wet or fine, you see. So houses was built in courts to cram as many into 1 acre as they could, and to cram as many people into each house as you could find a piece of floor for them to sleep on.